What's up, everybody? This is Christopher Thompson. You're listening to episode 7 of Mega Talks. In episode 6, I spoke with Seth Freeman. He's a guitarist, musician. In episode 7 here, I'll be speaking with the guitarist, musician, Robb McCormick. He goes by the name of some guy named Rob, and many of you have heard of him. If you haven't, sit back and enjoy the episode as you get introduced to him and his music. And if you've heard of him, we're going to discuss how he got his name, his touring schedule, talk about some of his songs and their meanings, and discuss a little bit about how the music business has changed since he started up into this point. All right, this is CT with Mega Talks. I'm here speaking with some guy named Rob. Some of you guys may know him as Rob. And how you doing today, Rob?
Hey, I'm doing great, Chris. Thank you.
Cool. I want to go ahead and thank you up front to take the time to speak with me today. And we'll go ahead and jump right into the interview. And I'm sure a lot of people would want to know the answer to this question, but how did you get the name Some Guy Named Rob?
It is kind of funny, and I've had it now for 20 years. It's been my stage name, and it started one day. I was playing. I'd been playing with a band for a long time, and the band split, and as bands often do, and then I started playing solo, and I was going just by Robb McCormick, and then when I was scheduled to play, I showed up and I was setting my stuff up, and there's a bartender at this place, and the phone rang, and I could tell the person on the other end of the line. I was close enough to hear the person on the other end of the line say, "Well, who's playing music tonight?" And the bartender looked at me. He's like, "Some guy named Rob." And I heard that, and I was all like, "That's hilarious. I'm going to keep that." So I started calling myself that kind of as a joke because I thought it was funny, and I just never changed it. It's still funny, so it's
it definitely stuck.
Yeah, it stuck, and it's to this day I still arrive at places, and they're like, I almost got into a fist fight about your name because people were asking me who it was, and I kept saying something. So it's still causing waves 20 years later.
Cool. All right. Kind of going back to, getting started as being a musician, because, I'm a musician as well. What is your main focus or your main inspiration come from as far as getting started playing music?
Well, I think when you're a kid, at least growing up, in the 80s, you see Michael J. Fox rocking the guitar on Back to the Future, and you see everything back in the 80s was kind of guitar driven and eventually synth, but there's just a lot of whole heavy rock and roll influence, and everything just seemed cooler if you had a guitar. So I thought, I want to learn to play guitar. I had taken little piano lessons whenever I was younger, because my sister did it. Me, of course, my older sister did it, then it must be cool. So I did it. And then as I went into, I was about 13, 14 years old, I asked my parents for a guitar. And something, Chris, I don't know if you knew this, but I'm left-handed. And so I, of course, at the time, I had no idea the difference between the left-hand and right-hand guitar. So, my parents get me a right-handed guitar. And about a year or two later, I figure out, there's actually left-handed guitars. And my dad,
that's cool.
My dad, who's left-handed, I'm like, "Dad, why didn't you get me a left-handed guitar?" And he said, "Well, those are more expensive." So he's like, "I didn't think you were actually going to play it. I thought you were going to, But my first guitar was a Squier, Fender Squier, Stratocaster, and and I still got it. I souped it up and made it, more of a playable guitar. But it's
Cool.
still my favorites.
Hmm. They're pretty powerful guitar. Some people, they underestimate them. Let's put it
Yeah,
that way.
yeah, for sure. And there were some Squires that were made back in the day that were really amazing. I feel like I got one of them.
Cool. And yeah, like as far as your musical influences coming after you picked up the guitar, who did you go to first? I guess you would say. Who did you mimic?
Oh, that's a great question. I think it was electric guitar, so I had to. Um, I'm trying to think what I was really listening to back then. One of the things was definitely Guns N' Roses. Slash. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
don't get me wrong. Like I don't play even to this day anywhere near as good as Slash, but you know, but whenever I first saw it, I was like, you know what, this is definitely yeah, inspiration.
uh huh,
And and then as I got older, or even just shortly after, I started, Dweezil Zappa.
yeah,
It's somebody that I always really enjoyed, even in the '80s. And then U2 was a real defining band for me, both
hmm,
like, with the lyrics and with the sound of their guitar, and just kind of the fact that they could take a message basically and put it with music, and their song "Pride in the Name of Love."
yeah. They really
Talking about,
blow it up.
I'm just saying, talking about Martin Luther King, and in a way that you can sing about it and you almost felt like you're part of the movement.
Hmm.
And I feel like that's always been an inspiration to say more than just, in songwriting, to say more than just, hey, you're pretty, I love you, let's get married, kind of thing.
Oh yeah, he send a message and tell a story.
Yeah, it's powerful.
A little bit more unique than the next person, I guess you say.
It's powerful. I mean, I think music can change lives. I think it's a powerful medium that's meant to change lives. I think music comes before football games because they want to rile the people up. People.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
music comes before weddings because they want to soften the people up. Music comes before. Uh, I mean, at a funeral, the
yeah.
same. Back in the old days, they used to send out the Levitical priests from the Bible. They'd send them out in front of the soldiers, you
Hmm.
know, pave the way for the war. So I mean, it's always been that way. It's just kind of that's the power of music.
Yeah. One thing I found interesting is you talk about coming up in the '80s, and
Yeah,
he had the bands like Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, and stuff like that, and their reputations is coming up.
yeah,
Um, it's not being so holy, but the other
yeah,
day or a couple of years ago, I was at like a little league baseball game and they were playing Ozzy Osbourne, and
yeah.
it's just funny to see, the transition that they made from yesteryears into kids ball games today being acceptable when
That's
everybody
right.
were throwing their albums out when they first produced their records.
That's right. And now that seems so tame compared to what people are putting out now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's alarming. I check out the top 50 because I also DJ.
Oh,
So
you do?
yeah, I DJ whatever. I started it just for a way to, what I kept noticing was DJs were being asked to play more events than live musicians. So I thought, well,
Hmm.
I can do
Hmm.
both. I'll do a hybrid.
Yeah.
And so I've been doing these hybrid shows where I play for the first couple hours and then DJ for the last couple hours, and they've been real popular.
That's
So
cool.
yeah, because that way
Uh-huh.
people can have a chill dinner, something like that, and hear some music, and then boom, time to dance.
Yeah.
So but what I've noticed is like the top 50 songs right now, like, and I say this anytime in the past few years, they're just like way over sexualized. I mean, over the top. The stuff that we thought, Madonna was bad back in the 80s, like, oh, she said virgin,
Yeah. It's totally tame now when you go back and
Oh,
listen to it.
yeah, it's tame, right? So that's music. I don't know where else there is to go. You get to a certain point where it's basically just verbal pornography.
Yeah. Now, some is like I don't know. It's made to be over the top, but I can listen to some things and I can feel what they're saying,
Yeah,
and it's a little bit of difference between some that are just glamorizing, just whatever, and the
right.
ones that are actually serious about trying to invoke a certain message
Yeah, yeah, for real.
or more serious message rather than just pull a dollar.
Right. That's just it. That's it. Right. And there really is a difference. And uh, yeah, I don't know what music's going to look like 10, 20 years from now. Maybe it'll all fold in on itself and everybody go back to, you know,
Oh, the way it was.
well, playing the acoustic guitar. You know how things cycle through. Sometimes,
Yeah,
you get your singer-songwriters and then you go this and then we get that and then,
yeah, because we had that like pop band era, and then like we
right,
had Blink 182 in with them, and then we
right.
had so-called new metal, which cycled back through, and now it's a blend of both. At least I think, anyway.
I know, and you know what's strange? I don't know if you remember this, of course, but like um, MTV and these guys were playing these really heavy bands. We're talking like at the time they were considered really heavy. Marilyn Manson
Oh
and
yeah.
some of and the day that Columbine happened, and all the school shootings came out, and then all the all the media went for those heavier bands
Uh-huh.
was the same week that boy bands and NSYNC and Backstreet Boys and Britney Spears and all this stuff started coming out.
Hmm.
And it's almost like I don't know. I don't know if it was because of the shootings, but I felt like there was a shift in that atmosphere. And the MTV even was like, okay, we're going to start promoting these boy bands, and
Uh-huh.
so I don't know.
Hmm.
Maybe just an observation from the late '90s.
Uh-huh. I'm sure it's got the a correlation between the two.
It could be.
I never really thought about it like that. I knew that
And then,
they always made the reference between the two, but I didn't know the timing was down.
well, I mean, I say within, I say a week or a few weeks of it, I just noticed all of a sudden that
There's
everybody
a
had a
big
copy
shift.
of Britney Spears and yeah, all that. And then of course Blink 182, that kind of it's like it's creeping back into, a little more guitar driven, a little heavier, and then
Mm-hmm.
you know then it builds back up into what I don't remember mid 2000s what was popular back then. So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
It always reminds me of the shift in music and how they talk about Seattle bands like
yeah,
Nirvana and Pearl Jam. They just had guitars. They didn't have guitar solos because I'm a guitar solo nut. But when you
yeah,
listen to Nirvana and Pearl Jam, they have guitar solos.
yeah, yeah, they do.
Yeah, and everybody says I don't. They don't solo. They don't play guitar that much. They do
They're
just as
very
much as the next person.
Pearl Jam. They've got two guitarists, don't they? I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
I was listening to them this morning. I mean, there was
Somebody's soloing.
yeah, they're solo all over the place.
Exactly.
But talking about transitions in music, I was listening to some of your stuff the other night, and you had a song. I think it was "Yeah, Yeah, Yeah," where you talk about some of the MTV and some things like
Oh,
that. Is that the right one?
yeah, yeah, that's the one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
You don't tell us a little bit about where that song
yeah.
comes from?
Well, one thing I always admired about rap music is the flow of the words. The way that they are just, a really skilled rap artist is going to be just um, amazing with the way that they're flowing, the way the rhyme is flowing. And so in the verses on that, I tried to just sort of make make it a little more da 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 da,
Oh, okay.
and then with the choruses, I wanted to come in with a real big punch, like if I had my way, I'd put some music back on the radio. If I had my say, I wouldn't say much at all. And if I had my way, I'd get some music back on MTV. And if I
Uh-huh.
had my say, all you'd see was an empty screen. Because I feel
Huh.
like, when I grew up in an era, well, I guess I grew up in an era where the MTV was coming out, and my parents we lived so far out of town in the boonies that we didn't get cable or anything like that. We didn't get and they didn't want satellites, so we just ended up we listened to music. I
Uh,
remember some Sunday mornings. My dad would put on vinyl records, and we would, lay there, and I'd lay my head against my dad and
hmm.
kick my feet up against the big stereo thing, and and just listen to the music. And so to me, music is still a very um, oral thing. It's very audio, and that's the way I like it.
Yeah, me too.
and, and because I honestly feel like video can deceive you into thinking that a mediocre song is a great song. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
like if you see something that and you're visually motivated by, like for men it might be a beautiful woman, driving a car that's just an amazing car, and
Uh-huh.
all of a sudden we're watching this, and we're that music is clicking with our senses, video and audio, and then we end up thinking this is a great song, when in fact if you had just heard the song by itself you'd be like, yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, you
So
turn the dial.
right. And so I still kind of miss that. So that's kind of my protest. I always tease about that song, yeah, 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 that it'll be the one least likely to ever end up on MTV.
Oh really?
Well, because it kind of insults it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. To me, that's kind of the one they put first. But
Oh yeah.
I
Well,
can
maybe
feel you
so.
when you were talking about the MTV and you know just the different types of music. How it was so everybody was wrapped around the MTV.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's face it. Nowadays, you need a video just to get people to listen to your music. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what I feel anyway. I feel like we've gone we've gone that direction, regardless of my personal preference to listen to something on vinyl or to listen to something just without seeing something attached to it first. I recognize that everybody today, they don't say, "Hey man, have you heard this new song?" They say, "Hey, have you seen this video?"
Uh huh.
And so I feel like that's kind of from the young musicians out there. And my 2 cents is you're going to have to make a video. It doesn't have to be great quality. It just has to be something for people to look at.
Yeah, a visual. Because
Yeah.
sometimes that influences your first impression on a song if you're watching rather than listening. Because there's some songs I've listened to and I've went to YouTube or wherever and watched the video, and the
Right.
song became that much more greater because the video actually did complement the song. But when
Yeah. And
some videos don't complement the song, you're like, okay.
right. And that's how we are. I mean, we're visually stimulated, and I think honestly, visual is probably first, and then
Yeah.
audio is second. Even for me as a musician, I still think that's probably true, because I'm the same way. If I find a song in a movie I love,
Hmm.
like in a moment that I love, well, I'll Shazam that track and add it to my
Oh yeah.
playlist when I want to hear it.
And that the yeah 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 was off of album. Was that Nothing and Everything Else?
Yeah, yeah. I had put out the cheerily titled album before that, Everything Is Nothing,
Yeah.
and so I made the sister album, Nothing and Everything Else.
Uh-huh. And
And go ahead.
what's the difference between the two as far as the audio, as far as the recordings? Because I noticed, just the difference in the way you recorded the tracks. Was one a live album, and the other one's like more of a, um, I guess, broken down kind of studio track?
Well, I think we got better. They were both recorded in a studio, but they were recorded at different times, and I felt like we got better from Everything Is Nothing to Nothing and Everything Else. I recorded that with Chris Kaler at Glass Planet Studios in Conway, and I think we were both kids, we were 20 something kids, and we're both learning the ropes, and he's even now he's just gotten so much better. He's got a band called Bane's End, and it's kind of like 30 Seconds to Mars stuff. It's pretty cool,
Hmm.
and so he's been spending the last 20 years honing his recording skills. So you could say that this was some of our earlier work together, but we're actually looking at making another album coming up soon. The the but the good, I think the studio, the live feel that you hear,
Hmm.
which one did you hear that on?
Everything Is Nothing.
You heard that on more on Everything Is Nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because the drums and just a lot of the, I don't know, you can kind of get the vibe of the room a whole
yeah,
lot more on that one.
yeah. Ben Smith recorded that with me, and Ben is just my go-to guy when it comes to percussion and backup vocals and guitar. I mean, he's just a
Hmm.
all-around great musician. And Ben and I recorded that when uh, we had been playing together live like nonstop, 5 shows, 4 or 5 shows a week for probably 2 or 3 years at that time, and we just felt good live, and so that's kind of what Chris was just like, just you do that, and then we'll worry about the other stuff. Whereas nothing and everything else came a little bit more structured, a little more okay. Let's do this. Let's lay down some tracks and let's do that. So yeah, there's
Hmm.
definitely that's a good ear, man. It just shows you really listen to recordings.
Oh yeah. I mean, both of them are. I enjoyed both of them. It's just I noticed the differences between the two. Um, just that vibe. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, it's there. I think it would take a musician to hear what you heard,
Uh-huh.
to really appreciate that there's a difference between those. Other than just the learning factor, the learning curve is that but there were elements of recording both of them that I really loved.
Yeah.
Everything is nothing was my second venture into the studio.
Oh really?
And yeah, well, the first time I made was called The Irresponsible Years.
Yeah.
And yeah, and that was I'm getting a call. There we go. I'll just put that away. The first time I made was called The Irresponsible Years, and I went to Crystal Hills Studio in Little Rock,
Oh okay.
and yeah, and recorded that, and it was good, but it was no, actually, I enjoyed that one too. I can't say anything bad about that. Well, I worked with a guy, and he was a drummer, and so like the drums sound amazing on that album.
Hmm.
Yeah, and uh, that's something that when you're going in to record with, you want to work with somebody whose primary thing that they love is the primary thing that you love. you know.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're gonna end up like with a track that the drums sound amazing, the guitar, it's all right. you
Uh-huh.
know. Now Chris Kaler, he loves the guitar. The guy that worked with Everything's Nothing and Nothing and Everything Else. He's a guitar player. Like he just loves the guitar sound. To
That
him, that's the only instrument.
did he play the guitar on Everything Is
Um,
Nothing, or was that you?
I think I played most of the electrics and acoustic on there. Though I do think he played. I know he added some backups, and I think that he might have come back like when I wasn't paying attention and overdubbed some guitar parts.
Oh yeah.
He's like, I'm just gonna thicken this up right here, and then
Uh-huh.
yeah. But everything, actually, he on the song "The Coast." I remember he came up with that cool riff, that dum dum dum. So it was really he did add. I like that song a lot better once he layered his guitar on top of it.
Yeah, because a lot of at least the times I've seen you live, is mainly acoustic. If it's a solo performance. But when I
Yeah,
heard Everything Is Nothing, I noticed more distorted guitars, and
yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, like playing live, man. If you are, you know, having a band that plays original music is a hard thing to do in Arkansas. Actually,
Yeah.
in the world right now. I mean,
uh
you know, and to have a band that is all together on the same page, ready to make original music. Usually, you have to be between the ages of 16 to like 22, because so many people grow up and they stop playing music because it just doesn't pay the bills.
Yeah.
And that's why I can go out and play solo and make what I make, and that pays my bills and that takes care of my family. But if I were to try to do that with a full band, then we would all have a great time and nobody would get paid, because it would just it'd
uh
just eat up the profits.
And you have to find people that are really motivated about, just playing your music. They look at it as playing your music, not as a cohesive band and an effort
Right,
together. And that's something
right.
that's hard to get.
Yeah, and it's easier for people whenever they reach a certain status. You reach if I can't think of anybody right now. If Dweezil Zappa wants to go out and everybody play that music. Okay, well obviously, you know, they're like, yeah, I'd love to be in Dweezil's band,
Uh-huh.
but
It's kind of
but
like
you,
it's kind of like who's that with oh the Eagles.
um
You know, you have all the side projects, and then you have the Eagles. Everybody could have their own show within Don Henley and the rest of
yeah,
them.
exactly, yeah, and those guys are amazing. The Eagles are crazy,
Mm-hmm.
crazy.
Um, King of Nothing.
Yes.
What is that about?
King of Nothing. Whenever I'd been playing music at that time for maybe, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years, and played music as some guy named Rob, and I had someone had come up to me and said, and he was a younger kid, like somebody who's maybe 16 or so, and I was probably 21 or 22, and he said after a show, he's like, you're like the you're like the godfather of rock and roll around here, or and I immediately felt old. At 22, I'm like the godfather, and I just thought, well, that makes me the king of nothing, doesn't it? you know,
That's funny.
sometimes I think it was maybe the Russellville music scene, and because I thought the Russell music scene, at the time was kind of just small. I thought, well, I'm the king of nothing. So that's it's kind of the thought originated from that,
Uh-huh.
and then I went into I went into more detail and kind of made it into just how we underappreciate what we have while we have it.
Mm-hmm.
And back then all my songs kind of crept into a love song, so I think there's probably a love story in there somewhere too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's got one of my favorite lines. If misery loves company, then I say love likes being alone. So I don't know.
uh, Now, when you play live, you mix your covers in with originals.
Yeah, I do. I think it's really important. I know as a kid, a lot of people were like, "We'll play originals only." Screw everybody else. Like I dig that. That's kind of the punk rock thing to do. And
Uh-huh.
but what I really enjoy about covers and what I've come to realize over the years is that what you're doing with your audience is you're telling them, you're saying, "Hey, these are my roots. This is where I came from. This is the flavor, and if you like this flavor, then you're gonna love my flavor."
Yeah.
So I think it's important for people to play the covers just to let people know where you came from, and part of an aspect of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So so usually when I play live now, I'll play. It depends on the venue, but I'll play maybe half originals, half covers.
Oh yeah.
That
No,
way, nobody gets too bored with my original song.
I don't see any Madonna on any of the albums though.
No, no, I didn't. I do occasionally. I'll break into some Material Girl.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've heard you do that one.
yeah. Well, and that's something else. Playing, recording covers is so it can be costly.
Yeah, I saw
For the,
you have a few of them.
yeah, I've got some covers there that I just offer online for free. That way, there's not.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, at least I think they're for free. But the ones that like for example, I put on the album, I put just in the song "Yeah Yeah Yeah," I break into about probably not more than a 5 second rendition
The Joan
of
Jett.
yeah, Joan Jett. I love rock and roll,
Yeah.
and then to do that, I had to pay the royalties, $100 for 1,000 CDs of royalties,
Wow.
and yeah, and I had to track down the writers and get their permission. Like it was a real. Of course, again, this is back in the
Hmm.
early 2000s,
Now, who
but
wrote the song?
it wasn't actually Joan Jett. It was a band from England or something like that. I forget their names now, but
Really?
I had to go back and get all the all the stuff and go through the Harry Fox agency,
Uh-huh.
and they've made things like that a lot easier now for people because there's such a breach of protocol when it comes to royalties and songwritings and all that.
I never knew that it was somebody else that wrote that song. I'm surprised I hadn't heard that in trivia somewhere, but
Yeah,
I always
well,
thought it was hers.
Well, it was because she owned it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
but I heard the original version of it whenever I was tracking it down. I thought to myself, well, it's okay, but obviously Joan Jett, you
Because
know,
when you were singing it and I was listening to it, that's the thing I started singing, and when it happened on your album, I'm like, wow, this is like wicked. Because he said the same words leading from your song into hers, and I'm like, man,
yeah,
that's Joan Jett. And you started singing it.
yeah, yeah, exactly, man. And that's the thing is that like it kind of to me, I think that was probably one of the first songs I remember being just wow. That's rock and roll. That's wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a lot of
Joan
heavy
Jett.
distorted guitars.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it was, and yet at the same time, it wasn't like Megadeth or Master Puppets or anything like that. It was still um, melodic.
Yeah,
Even yeah. So still had that melodic thing going.
I've always thought it'd be cool to hear Metallica cover "Girls Just Want to Have Fun."
You know what that would sound like, man?
Yeah,
James.
I just think it'd be a nice little mashup. But
That would be
that's one thing I
awesome.
like hearing covers by different bands and how they spin them. I don't like hearing the same songs. I like hearing something different.
Yeah.
I think Rage Against the Machine had a whole album where they done nothing but covers and they had all original
Oh,
music.
yeah. Yeah. Ghost of Tom Joad was on there, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's one of my
Oh,
favorites that they done.
man, Bruce Springsteen. And you listen to the original version, and you have to turn up the Bruce Springsteen version. You have to turn up your knob just to like
To
be able
hear,
to hear it. It's so quiet.
uh-huh,
And then they come in there and just like,
in your face.
yeah, which
It's
is awesome. I like that too. I like to see and hear songs that haven't been done the same way over and over again.
hmm And the mashup things. Shoot, Mixmaster Mike has a whole album of just like different types of mashups that he's done.
Yeah,
Him and DJ Muggs, I think, have one, and then um, Travis Barker. I think he has some stuff he's done too.
I have to check that out.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a bunch of stuff was online for free from Travis, and maybe it's DJ AM that he's with. They do a bunch of stuff, and Mixmaster Mike, and a whole lot of them. I forgot what site I was on, but it's a lot of free stuff that they've done some mashups.
Yeah, and I think that with all the things that, like I said, when it comes to royalties and people trying to get their stuff, then it does kind of it's just hard to know who's breaking the law and who's not when it comes to mix up and mashups and all that because
Yeah,
who owns what intellectual property rights, copyright laws, all this stuff, and at this point it's almost just kind of assumed that music is free. Once it's
yeah.
been released, it's free.
And it's like even going to YouTube. I made a mashup song and tried to upload a video to YouTube, and
Uh-huh.
it hit on both of the songs, and they were just like one bar samples over and over, like a loop from some of the songs, and YouTube still hit on it and wouldn't let me play the video or the audio
Oh,
from the
really?
video.
Oh man.
Yeah, so I was like, well, that's over with.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, and even now I've noticed that some videos post on Facebook, Instagram, they're picking up. There's music in the background, and it will block out your audio
Yeah.
because Facebook doesn't want to pay royalties to whomever, you
hmm
know. Yeah. So, wow. And here's something I'll speak to that, man. As a member of ASCAP, I've been a member for 20 years. All my songs are registered. I've had stuff played in TVs and on TV shows and
hmm
and in radio, college radio. And of all that, I've never seen any money come
Wow.
from ASCAP. I've even called them. I've been like, listen, I turned in the right sheets of paper. I've
hmm
done this, done that. I'm getting all sorts of plays. Why are you guys not paying me? Because I know you're taking money from every single place that I'm playing.
Yeah. Even
You know,
online.
even online,
Yeah.
exactly. And their response was, well, we're trying, but we only check at certain times, and you must not have been on during those certain times. So I'm just thinking, somebody is getting rich, but
Yeah.
it's not the musicians. So
Yeah. I went the BMI route instead of
yeah.
the ASCAP, but it's about the same thing.
Have
You
you had any luck?
No, you see, you can go in and check your records and how many audio plays that you get across Spotify and Amazon and however many sales that you get, and it's like 0 0. There's 4 zeros and then like none, so you maybe
Yeah.
get like a barely 1 cent off a play, but
No,
it doesn't ever
it
add up. But you can check stats for days.
yeah. No, I did the math on that, like on Spotify. I encourage people to go, listen to my stuff on stream Apple Music or Spotify and all that.
Uh,
But man, when it comes down to it, you have you you get 0.0006 cents per play, which means that if somebody listens to my song for 67 hours, then I'll get $5.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just put that on
So
repeat.
yeah, exactly. I think I'd eat up more Wi-Fi charges, and have to pay the Wi-Fi company money.
Uh,
So it's working well for people like Taylor Swift. It's working well for people like Selena Gomez, people who are in the public eye, and Bruno Mars. These guys that are.
oh, they're
But the
just
problem,
constantly in rotation.
right? But the problem with that is that that's 0.00000001% of all musicians.
Uh-huh.
And that's unrealistic. So I
Yeah.
do think Drake has a good model right now of putting out music. Like back in the day, Chris, you and I would be like, we're gonna put out a CD. So
Mm-hmm.
we'd go into the studio, make a CD, and then we'd drop it, and people would pay $15 for it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that was, we'd go out and promote it, and then we'd make money that way, and ultimately it didn't cost nearly as much to do that, and the dividends were immediate, and we'd pay back, whoever we borrowed the money from, or we would just like, okay, yay, this is profit.
Mm-hmm.
So, that was the old method. Now, I think that, if you put out a CD of songs, people are like, oh, I don't know what to do with that many songs. So
I'm not gonna
those, like,
sit down that long and listen to all those.
right. You have to release them like one at a time, and then maybe build up the hype and then pre-order a CD. Because I really feel like the only time that music has financial merit, or it has worth, is before it's released. And so
Yeah.
once it's out there, as soon as it hits Spotify, then why would you go buy an album when you can at any time go listen
Stream
to
it.
it?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that's when I think that you have to make a big deal. I think Drake is doing this thing where he'll drop a song and a video and let that, continue to go viral. And then a month later he drops another song, another
Huh.
video. And so I feel like he does that. And I think people are getting wise to how people,
How to market it.
how to market it,
Yeah.
and that really does matter in this day and age.
Uh-huh. I didn't even know he was doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I think whoever he's got working for him, the team he's got working for him, they're cracking the code, the code of how to release music now.
Oh yeah. There's gotta there's a different formula that's gonna come up one way or another. Either that or technology is just gonna get better, and keep us confused on how to market.
Yeah, well, that's true. Like Facebook loves to change their algorithm as soon
Oh
as we know.
gosh.
Yeah, as soon as we know how to work it, it's like, no, we're not doing that anymore. Now we're doing this. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The algorithm kills everybody because nobody is seeing your status unless you're paying somebody to read it.
Exactly, and that's what they want. That's exactly what they want.
Yeah. I don't think the people that post some stuff realize that I want everybody to tell me. Well, only 50 people are gonna see it if you're lucky.
That's right. Yeah, that's what I heard. I heard it really was something like 3% maybe of people. Somewhere between 3 and 10% of the people who are your Facebook
Yeah.
friends and followers are going to see it organically, unless it goes viral.
Mhm. And I have some good friends out there that I don't never see them post. I have to go to their page just to read, what they're doing.
Exactly.
talking a little bit about internet and stuff like that. I was watching your page, and you have how many CDs or how many records do you have? I don't know if we call them that anymore or not, but that's what I still call them.
No, I still call them that. I still like vinyl records though. So
Yeah, I like to hold my CDs in my hand and read the liner notes and who engineered it and
yeah,
a little bit about the song. Maybe you wrote this song in 2001. Maybe this one was in 1980. Maybe this one was wrote 2 weeks ago. But I like finding out stuff like that.
yeah. I wonder if you and I are a thing of the past when it comes to.
Yeah.
But wait, what was your original question? I'm sorry, I got
Oh,
sidetracked.
how many releases or how many CDs do you
Oh,
have?
okay. CDs. Let's see. I have 7 CDs that I've released so far. I did release one that was sort of a little EP primer to the very, very first one, but I don't really count that.
Oh yeah.
I call it the irresponsible promo, and then I put out the irresponsible years, and then I put out everything is nothing, and then in between that one and nothing and everything else, I put out a little. Um, I just did like a 300 run of the Pale sessions, which was sort of
Oh,
my
okay.
really focused on songwriting, really focused on just having fun and not being concerned with what the production quality so much as the song and the performance of it.
Hmm.
And it's one of my favorite albums. I don't know why. I think it may be on Spotify or it
I
may
know it's
not.
on your website.
Okay, it's on the website then.
Yeah.
And that's the SG and Rob. That's the that's where I try to direct everybody because that's where I actually get paid the most money if people purchase my songs is on
Yeah. So
SG.
if you guys are listening out there, make sure you go to sgnrobb.com. Get your music from there because you're gonna benefit most. You're probably gonna get a better quality recording from there for one, and
That's
you're gonna
true.
be complimenting your artist a whole lot more than a secondary source.
Well, and I think people probably don't know that, but iTunes is going to take about 40%, and
Yeah.
and I think and most of the other places are going to take similar when it comes to just the processing fees and
Hmm.
all that. You know. Um, but yeah, and then after that, I put out a song called "Previous and Preview," which was a way to release some new songs while going back and finding some of the what I call the better tracks that ended up on the album. And I did that one way. I was going to promote some college shows. I started playing college shows, and so I want to
Hmm.
give people a little sampler. So that was a good sampler. And then yeah, after that, I put out an album called "Up Seems So Down," and that was in about 2010, 2011.
Oh yeah.
And that one I recorded over in yeah, actually in Dardanelle. There was a guy named Rob Newton. Do you know Rob?
Oh yeah. We went to high
Yeah.
school together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he'd gone to recording school, and so he had all that knowledge, and he's up at working. He's It's a Hard Rock in Chicago now. He does all the sound for the shows and stuff for them.
Really, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah, he's a super cool guy, and his wife Kat
Uh huh.
and their kids. The recording came at a really strange time in my life where I was I think yeah, during that time I just lost my mom,
Mm.
and and it was one of those you just kind of confused because I always tell people no matter how old you get, your mom is still your mommy,
Oh
you
yeah.
know. And so you just kind of you lose your compass for a little bit, and north isn't quite north anymore. So
Oh yeah. You need that outlet.
yeah, and so up seems so down is kind of the way it kind of accumulated what I felt. And there are songs on that album. I don't know if you've done this, Chris, like if you've released something that you both love and hate at the same time, like
I
like
hadn't released it. I've had some some dark thoughts and different I don't know some things, but nothing anybody else may want to
right,
hear.
right. Well, you never know.
Yeah.
You never know. Sometimes, you know, well, for example, I think Up Seems So Down. There's songs I listen to them and I love them and I'm like, wow, this I'm so pleased with the way this came out. And then there's songs I'm like, I would completely redo this track. I'd redo everything about this track. I wish I could just burn it off the CDs so I could redo it again on another CD.
Oh yeah.
That kind of thing. So, but I think that also comes with the process of you know trying to when you're dealing with grief and you're dealing with responsibility, because I was also, my kids were young at the, like 1 and 3 years old at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and or around that age where you're dealing with a lot of responsibility, you're dealing with a lot of grief, you're dealing with a lot of things, and all of a sudden, you're trying to articulate that in art, and yeah, it looks confusing and messy, and sometimes you end up loving it, and sometimes you end up hating it. So, but I think everybody's got an album like that, eventually.
Oh yeah.
So, um, and then
Was
after Upstairs to Down, okay.
what'd you say?
Oh, I said, go ahead. Were you about to say something?
Oh, no, not really. I just going to say there's a lot of emotions and different things that come out that captures the moment,
Yeah,
and some
for
things
sure.
you hear them, and I know when I put certain things out, you feel exposed in a
For
certain
sure.
way.
For sure. Yeah.
So sometimes you're like, I don't know if I want to put that part of me out.
Yeah, man. And I think sometimes you have to say, okay, I'm going to put this out. It may not reflect how I feel 10 years from now, but
Yeah.
it's where I am right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes people will really respond to that. I think what I don't like about Up Seems So Down is I feel like I never properly promoted it because I really did. I was stuck. You get to a place where you just feel stuck, and I had that love hate relationship, so I never really pushed that album.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably one of those things that uh, I don't know.
It's a good,
I'm not,
a good and a bad staple, part of your career.
yeah, yeah. It's a highlight. It's a low light. It's like I said. I go back and listen to it occasionally though,
Mm-hmm.
and I listen to the tracks that shine on it, and I'm just amazed by the great job that Rob did, and I'm amazed. I had people like Andy Moore from DSVille playing on it, and
Oh yeah.
Ren White was playing violin. Dylan Blaney did the drums, and they were just amazing.
Huh. That's cool.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'd taken some stuff to Rob one time, just to let him listen to it, because that's, you probably recorded that during the when everybody's having the sound wars, and I know I put out a CD and the sound wasn't, when you listen to it, it sounds great. Then you listen to it next to somebody else's track and it's all quiet. So I had to go into him and find out why all that was happening, and he gave me some good pointers.
Oh yeah, man. Sound Wars is right. A few years ago, it felt like everybody was pushing, trying to find the borders of how pristine or how perfect they could make it sound, and then
How
just
loud.
and how loud. Well, yeah, they were definitely pushing like they would like compress it until they were almost peaked out.
Yeah.
But now, have you noticed like there's this lo-fi movement coming in that's just kind of indie lo-fi, recorded in your garage on a cassette track kind of sound?
Yeah, kind of. It's opened up. At least the EQ's opened up a little bit. It's still kind of like airy and a little bit chopped, I guess. Or
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, kind of a garage sound, I guess. They're trying. I think it's more produced than its actual. you know,
yeah.
like Saint Anger. I don't know if you listen to that Metallica.
Is that new? I haven't heard it.
It's a few years old. It's the one where everybody hated it because Lars's snare drum.
What would they not like about it?
Because it sounded too much like it was in the garage and it was giving everybody a headache.
Oh, wow.
And it was something intentional that they'd done. They didn't
Yeah,
really squash it a whole lot, so it was a lot. It was kind of annoying, but me with my musical taste, I kind of enjoyed it.
yeah. Well, and I think they probably did that on purpose, just so you could
Yeah.
Certain people connect with certain sounds. I kind of like the sound of a trashy snare,
Uh-huh.
but I grew up playing in live bands, so I heard trashy snares.
Sounds at home when you hear it.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, a lot of people would be disappointed in some of their bands if they could sit on stage and hear what they're hearing.
That's really true. Have you thought about that? Like,
Yeah.
I've the amount of bands that I've seen versus the amount of music that I love. I think that what you can do inside a studio is you can create a whole world that's not even true,
Uh-huh.
but it's beautiful. And that includes people's voices. You can manipulate them, or you can, guitars or drums, all that stuff. It all comes with. You could build a whole world of interesting and wonderful music, and then try to reproduce it live, and it's
Oh
almost
yeah.
impossible. Without tracks, it's almost impossible.
Uh-huh. Because there's a lot of bands. I mean, they do it, but when you see them on stage,
Yeah,
they're playing along to a click track, or they're got other computer pumping over their stuff in, which is it's good for the recreation, but some people look down upon people for doing that. But I mean, these days you create the art.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't think personally. I don't look down on people for having tracks. I think
Me
now
neither.
I say that if a person, like, I don't know, if a band, like, I don't know. Well, you too. I think they play with some tracks. Now they're real subtle though.
Uh-huh.
For the most part, everything you're hearing is being done live. But then if it was just one person, what choice do you have but to either try to pass on your vision of the song through tracks, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And I don't see anything wrong with that personally. I like the innovation.
Yeah, me too. As long as they're not trying to pass it off as like, oh, we're playing everything.
Right.
If you're not playing it, just say you're not playing it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, this is our fifth member of the band. His name is Trix.
Yeah. But you have after Up Seems So Down, you have the Seven, the album.
Yeah. Seven was one that I decided I was just going to record at the house, and I recorded it. Um, and I made the ultimate mistake when it comes to recording songs. I chose my newest songs, and they were not road tested. They had not been, like the way I like to do things: write a song, take it out on the road, play it in front of people. That'll tell me, because I'll write something in the key of C because I'm sitting in front of my computer. I don't want to wake up my kids and my wife. But then whenever I'm out, if I try to play it or sing it in the key of C, I'll be like, oh, blah, blah. So, that was like bump that up to E flat and then play the song live. And so a lot of these songs are songs that have, well, I mean, there are only 7 songs, but all of them were recorded in a very chill, relaxed environment. So all of it is in lower keys than it should be, and all of it's maybe a little more mellow than it should be.
Uh-huh.
So, now, having said that, I think it's some of my strongest songs as far as songwriting goes. I think, like the song "Homeless" on there, I was writing it, and I was probably about 3/4 the way through before I realized that I was actually writing this from the perspective of my dad, who had to basically live with the ghost of my mom, in the sense that he was still there, she was gone.
Mhm.
And so the song, the chorus is, "Your heart is my home, your heart is my home, and baby, I'm homeless." And I think that, songwriting wise, I was very pleased with Seven. I wrote a song, "What Do You Think, Christine," which was just supposed to be one of these little songs that I kind of wrote. I was thinking about an ex-girlfriend, and I was just kind of, the next thing I know, I'm writing this apology,
Huh.
this, to her, and just to say, if I could tell you just one thing, I'd say to you, I'm sorry, because I was a kid, I was an 18-year-old kid, and
Yeah.
and I was just stupid, and I would much rather have never. I would much rather have had her as a friend for the rest of my life than have her as a girlfriend for a small period of time, and
Yeah.
and never, And so I wrote an apology, and then my wife walks by, and she peeks her head, and she's like, "What song was that?" And I'm like, "Oh crap!" I'm like, "Oh crap! This is gonna be bad." And
Uh-huh.
so I'm like, well, honey, this isn't for you. This is just an apology and da da da. And she's like, well, let me hear it. And so I play it for her, and thinking the whole time that she's gonna like smack me in the head. I mean, don't get me wrong. And when she's done, she looked at me with just a little bit of misty eyes, and she's like, "That's my favorite song that you've written." She said,
Wow.
because that's true."
Uh-huh.
She's like, "You need to put that out on the next album." And so because of her, otherwise that song would never have seen the light of day. But just a testament to how sweet a wife I married. That
Yeah, that's
she
good to
doesn't.
have that support.
Oh man, yeah, because I wouldn't have ever, I wouldn't have even showed it to her had she not just walked in and
Uh-huh.
and done that. And a lot of people really responded to that song. That's probably, if there was going to be a single, it would have been "What Do You Think, Christine?" So
Mm-hmm.
um,
That's nice.
yeah, and then so those are the seven. I hope that added up to seven.
Yeah, yeah, that was 7. I know
Yeah,
I know there's one in between that's not on the list, but that's the 7th one though.
yeah, yeah. And I actually went back and remastered seven and tried to give it a better time. So there may be two versions of that out there, but yeah, I would love to go back someday and do a live version of seven, because
Hmm.
songs have grown and changed so much, and they would sound so much better.
Now,
I,
when you redo some songs or you revisit them live or anything, do you ever change the key?
Sometimes I do. Yeah, I
Really?
do. Especially for the songs written on seven, because like I said, they were recorded as they were written.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I do. Do you ever do that?
Oh no, that's a lot of thought has to go in that for me,
Yeah, well,
because a
that's
lot of what
true.
I do is just like instrumental, improvised instrumental stuff. To
Uh-huh.
change the key more than just one half step up or down would be crazy. I would have to
Right.
change guitars to do it.
Right. That's right, man. That's I forgot about that. That'd be totally different. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just moving a capo up or down. That's you
No.
know.
But back in my younger years when I listened to like a lot of Van Halen and listened to Guns N' Roses when they came along, I would play along with the radio, and I would play out of tune to those songs because they were played in E flat and I only had one guitar. So,
Uh-huh.
yeah, so but I would play the original notes over the top of the song, and it would sound pretty terrible. But to me, I was getting the notes down underneath my fingers.
Yeah, that's right, man. That's right.
Yeah.
I think it's easy to be critical when we go back and look at our earlier work, and I think every musician I know would change something about any album that they ever put out. They'd like to go back and do this, go back and do that, but it's almost like a photograph. You can't really
Hmm.
go back and change a photograph, but it's a good representation of who you were at that moment.
Yeah. I've had I had a song that I tried to go back and recreate, and I put it out, but to me it still just didn't work because when me and my roommate in college recorded it,
Yeah.
it was like the 7th or 8th take, and it was just one take from the beginning to the end of the song, and I played it 6 different ways, and that 7th different way, I played it with like one finger, and I messed up, and I went back the 8th time and like played it with the whole thing with like one finger, just like I don't know, the verses and the chorus, and from then it stuck. I never could recreate that song. I had
Yeah.
a couple of different tracks that I done like that, or just done it with one finger and another song, and that was just like a minute, and I don't know, I couldn't play them to save my life. It was just that vibe in the moment, you know.
Well, and that's it, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah,
sometimes the magic is right there. That's why you want to record. If you think there might be magic, start push record.
I know.
Yeah, I've definitely had that too. I know what you're talking about.
Hmm. So you have the sketches in F sharp, and
Oh yeah,
I'm
yeah.
assuming everything's in F sharp.
Well, no, what I found was that I fell in love with the key of F sharp, and I found that this old guitar I was playing the old Martin, and it was a triple aught thin body Martin, and everything just sounded better if I, in F sharp. So I was playing everything in at F sharp, and I just loved the way it sounded. And I found this picture that I loved, and I was like, man, I'm just gonna tie this in and see how it goes. And it was it was it was actually I've never released that yet.
Oh
Is
yeah,
it out on my website?
yeah.
I guess I have released it then. No, Sketches in F sharp is just a promise of things to come. I'm not even sure what's on it, dude. Sometimes you put stuff out there and you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to come back to that and fix it. And sometimes I think that may be what I've done with F sharp. So I think it would.
Yeah, it was 3 songs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There's Netflix binge watch and Once Upon a Kiss and Freshly 21.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
a
So
cover song.
yeah, cover song by my friend Till Willis.
Okay.
Uh, Till is from Kansas City, and he's got he's basically like Ryan Bingham and Bruce Springsteen had a love child, and he's really really talented, and it always surprises me. We met when we were in Colorado. We were playing some of the same places, and we realized we both have uh, the same birthday, August 15th.
Oh,
So
nice.
we just started striking up a friendship, and he lives in Kansas and I live in Arkansas, and so he took I sent him one of my songs. I'm like, man, I'd love to hear you on this, and so he recorded this song. It's a song called Down by the River, and it's funny because Down by the River, it's like this old Western movie, and
Mm-hmm.
it's about this old guy, and he sees something, he sees like a murder, he sees something go wrong, so he takes revenge and venges the family, all this kind of stuff. So he takes it and then he changes the end of the song. It's so funny. Like in my original ending, I died in the and I basically gave my life to save this little girl. That was the song.
Uh-huh.
And in the end, he lives and he and the girl go off and get married. So I
Totally
took
turned it around, didn't
yeah. I was like, your version is a lot happier. You just like the Disney version of my song.
he? That's
Um,
funny.
yeah, but it's not neat though. You put something to the world, and then people can take it and do whatever they want to with it.
Shoot. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Made himself the hero.
yeah. And that's all right because there's people that would probably prefer that ending, and mine was a little sad. Come to think about it. So,
Uh-huh.
but yeah, I took that song of his and Freshly 21. Something about it other than just the melody of it. What I loved about it, it felt like it was a conversation between like people say you got a demon on your back, that kind of thing. It sounds like
Mm-hmm.
it was a conversation between this person. He's talking to the demon on his back, and he's just like, yeah, I don't really care what you're saying right now. I got to go. I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna have a good time. I don't really have time to have a demon, so I'm just I'm not interested in anything you have to say. So
Uh-huh.
that bit of the conversation is supposed to sound like a phone conversation because I thought the Freshly 21, that feeling that you feel whenever you're 21 years old and the whole world's in front of you and you're unstoppable, that kind of thing. So um, I was attracted to that song of his,
Uh-huh.
and so I changed it up and I don't think I changed it up. I don't, nearly as much as he changed mine.
Oh
So,
no. Not like
but yeah,
that.
good songwriter though. Till Willis is his name.
Nice. And then you have fandom access covers. And think that's the one we were talking about earlier with the cover songs.
Right. Okay. Now that one I did put online for, uh, and I'm not sure. It may be to purchase, and we have to actually look on it. This is me looking now.
Yeah, I think it's $9.99.
Okay.
It's not $1,000, but
Yeah, I put some of the other ones down there for $1,000, didn't I?
yeah, the Ben Smith and
Oh yeah,
Baines
Ben.
in.
Yeah. I told them that if I could sell them this, it'd be kind of like the Wu-Tang Clan thing. If
And
people are willing to pay it.
you have a cover of the Elton John, the Rocket Man, or Rocket Man anyway.
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to find that. The I love that song since I was a kid. My dad was a DJ back in the day,
Mm-hmm.
and the Rocket Man though. This version it's got there's Pride and Prejudice playing in the background, and I got
Hmm.
this real strange eclectic beat, that was a synthesized beat,
Mm-hmm.
and then just layered some uh, crummy piano sound over the top of it and made a yeah. I mean, it's strange, but I want it to be strange. I basically it's a spoken word poem almost. So, because I like to try different things. I like to, you know,
Yeah.
to me, it's fun to me to try something new. And
Uh-huh.
and if it sounds stupid, so what? In 100 years, no one's gonna care.
So if you don't like it, go into the next one.
Exactly. Then you might like the next one.
Oh
So,
yeah. But I think everybody can, if they hadn't heard that, to go listen to some of those covers because I think everybody can identify with most of those songs. I think
well,
there's a couple on here that maybe not be covers. Friday Rob is in love.
oh, that's the Cure. Friday, I'm in love. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just making a play on words. Yes. Everybody Wants to Rule the World. That was the one I did with Bane's End. And
Hmm.
What Shall We Do Now is Pink Floyd. The Law is Leonard Cohen. And for some reason, Everybody Wants to Rule the World's on there twice. That's interesting.
Yeah.
But no, everybody wants to go to heaven. I think that's the How Can You Refuse Him Now is Hank Williams Sr.
Oh, it
Come on.
is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not junior, but senior. Yeah. And then Come On Up to the House is Tom Waits, and The Wrestler was Bruce Springsteen. So
Hmm.
um but yeah, just it's I don't know. I love covers. I love hearing people's versions, and I always ask myself, am I can, can I do something that's going to be good for this?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it's going to be different enough that I can actually say this is my own cover, or is it just going to sound just like the original? So I like to, yeah,
Just spruce it up.
yeah.
And like when you hear the original Rocket Man and you do your own cover, what do you where do you get your motivation from the song? Do you get it from the song content, or do you get it from just um I don't know what you interpreted the song as?
Well, I love the lyrics. To me, it's about a man who is surrounded by people that feel like they know exactly who he is, and in his mind, they have no idea who he is. And I think that's the whole. I think it's going to be a long, long time before touchdown brings me around again to find I'm not the man they think I am at home. No, no, no. I'm a rocket man. And I think that we all feel that way. Like we can be surrounded by our closest friends, but there's still things that we don't tell our closest friends. As much as we love them, as much as we trust them,
Hmm.
there's there's still a part of us, I think, as human beings that we like to keep private. Um, and hopefully that's not the dark spots. You
Yeah.
know what I'm talking about? Like not
Yeah,
just
because
the
a
dark,
lot of people, I would refer to it as your dark side.
right?
But when I say
But
dark side, some people think evil, but it's not necessarily evil. It's just,
it's private,
yeah, it's not a whole lot of light that's being shined on it, so you're not going to see it.
right? Yeah, no, I totally understand that. I
Yeah.
totally get. And I think that because we're all kind of wired that way, deep down inside of us, we all know that we're rocket men. We're rocket men and women. We're more than what we are meant to. More than what we see.
Yeah.
So, and that ties in spiritually for me. I just feel like um, all of us are made in the image of God. Every single one of us are made in the image of God,
Hmm.
and and which means that every single one of us, it has this amazing possibility, this amazing potential. And I feel like so often we go to our jobs and we work, our days and do this, but we never actually achieve that potential.
You
You
kind of
know,
lose out, get
yeah,
lost in the mix.
well, exactly. We get lost in Netflix. We get lost in alcohol or food or sex or drugs, etc. I think that we lose ourselves in distractions,
Yeah.
but there's still that potential there for more greatness than we could ever understand. And by greatness, I don't even mean fame or success or money, but I mean success in life. Like a fulfillment of happiness.
Hmm. bringing
You know,
value to somebody else.
exactly. You
Yeah.
know, sharing the gifts that we've been given while we're still able to give them.
Hmm. And that's you talk about that's something that's you're blessed to do. Is it's like your mission in life to do. You have a vehicle to do it. There's nothing holding you back. The only thing that could really hold you back is yourself. By
That's
not
true.
doing it or just having doubt or
Right.
somebody in your ear to bring you down. But you've
That's it.
succeeded in what you're set out to do.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I realized something a few days ago. I think it's kind of a fresh revelation for me, and that's that people live in one of the three F's. They either live in fear, and they let that fear dictate them. Like, I'm afraid if I put this out, no one's gonna like it. Or no one. If I'm afraid if I say this, no one's gonna, no one's gonna be my friend,
Yeah.
etc. Or they live in fact, which is what they can see, what they can taste, touch, and smell. Or they live in faith. Faith
Hmm.
of things are gonna be better. Things are, the hope that there's more to life than just the fear and the fact. There's faith. So that's something I've been praying about, contemplating on, and
Hmm.
seeing what there is.
I think there's
So
another album in there.
yeah, man, the three F's.
Uh huh.
Sounds like my report card back in.
Oh, we can't get three of them. We can get one, but we can't have three F's on the report card.
No, no,
Oh,
no.
well, shoot. It's been great talking to you.
Yeah, Chris, really enjoyed it, man. Thank you for letting me be on the Mega Talk. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, it's good to talk with you about the music and things like that. Because some of my other musician friends, we see each other in passing, but we don't get time to just sit down and talk about different things like this, and let your fan base hear you talk. Um, some people I imagine will go back and re-listen to some songs and have a different perspective about things. Because when you hear them live, they're always your interpretation. But when you hear the artist talk about them, you go back and you actually, listen a little bit closer to things and have a little bit of understanding of what the song
Right on.
is actually meant to be. But
Right
that's
on.
that's kind of the beauty about some of the, music to me anyway. I can listen to a song and I can interpret it and it means this to me, but it means totally something different to somebody else. And I can't have anybody's ear to listen. So you always have your own unique experience when you listen to music.
It's true. That's so true, man. So true. Well, listen, I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for letting me be on the program and send me a link so I can send it to my friends.
Cool. I'll definitely do that. Is there any, you want to plug your social media or websites
Sure.
or anything that you want to?
Sure. This is some guy named Rob, and so you can go to sgnrobb.com and find almost all my music. Apparently, even some songs I didn't even know I had, and and then and you can on social media you can find me under sgnrobb, some guy named, and then my name with two B's. Um, and then yeah, Rob McCormick. So some guy named Rob, Facebook, all the Instagram, Snapchat, which I hardly ever use, but yeah, Twitter, which I don't even think I understand.
MySpace.
MySpace, yeah, I think I probably do still have a MySpace account. So.
All right. We're gonna get out of here on that one. And when's your next show?
I'm playing this Friday in Paris, Arkansas, at a place called Cottontown Barbecue, and then I'm DJing a wedding the next night, and then I think I've got. Let me look at my calendar real quick. Um,
Yeah, because I thought you had some stuff coming up.
yeah, I've got La Huerta in Fort Smith on Thursday, and then I've got Bricktown Brewery in Fort Smith on Friday, the 29th of September. Rebel Kettle Brewing Company in Little Rock on the 30th of September. And what else we got going on? Yeah, it just keeps going. And you can actually find my entire schedule on the website. And the easy way to the website, if you just want to Google some guy named Rob, just make sure Rob has two B's in it, and that
Oh,
should take
okay.
you.
And click on tour, and you'll be able to see everywhere where he's going to be in the Is that September, October, November, and December?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
there's always new dates being added and things being adjusted. So that's the best way to keep track of me. That's how I have to keep track of me too.
Yeah, and if you're in a remote area and you think, well, why doesn't Rob ever come through here? You need to go to your club or your venue and request that they hire him, and they'll bring him.
Please do. I love playing new places, and I love traveling, so I don't mind getting out of state and seeing some cool things.
Nice. All
Awesome.
right. Well, to get out of here, and we'll talk to you later, man.
All right. Thanks, Chris.
Take care.
Take care, man. Bye-bye.
And that's a wrap with the interview with some guy named Rob. Make sure you check the show notes for his links so you can click directly and go over to his website. You can purchase his music directly off his site. Also check out his other social medias on Instagram, Facebook, the typical social media. And also go on iTunes or the Podbean. Leave my show a review. Let me know what you think. I've got a couple of guests planned to come on the show, and we have to wait till some things kind of align right. Can't really say who the guests are yet, but stay tuned for those. Also, in the near future, be looking for a special episode that I'll produce, and it'll be a little bit of surprise when you hear it. So be looking, and I'll catch you guys next time on Mega Talks.